Queen Camilla has been thrown out of the palace in absolute disgrace. After years of whispers, Prince William caught her cheating, and the evidence was undeniable. A secret affair, missing heirlooms, and betrayal at the highest level have shattered the monarchy. This time, there's no coming back. The secret dossier that shattered the palace. June 25, 2025. A normal morning at Buckingham Palace turns into something the crown never saw coming. As King Charles sat down with his regular royal reports, a thick, anonymous dossier was waiting under a pile of sealed files. He opened it, expecting more briefings. What he got instead were high-resolution surveillance photos, stamped between May 11th and 13th, showing something that shattered everything. Queen Camilla, arms wrapped around Edward Langley, inside a private Windsor-adjacent estate. He was a former royal aide, with known personal ties to Camilla going as far back as 1999. For years, he kept a low profile, appearing in old palace photos and staff rosters, but never in headlines. Camilla had told Charles she needed a solo wellness retreat to recover from stress. But the dossier showed wine glasses, soft lighting, and their shadows behind closed windows. There were no security guards in sight, no royal chaperones, just Camilla and Langley. At first, Charles couldn't believe what he was seeing. A little-known but powerful team quickly confirmed everything. They traced Langley's transport records, guest entries, and time-stamped photos. Everything matched. The so-called retreat was nothing more than a cover. Charles whispered just one thing after seeing the images. "I gave her everything, and she gave me this." The betrayal was real, but this was only the beginning. What came next would turn a private heartbreak into a royal emergency. Charles orders a deep investigation. The very next morning, June 26, 2025, King Charles took action. Still shaken by what he saw, he called for a discreet internal review by the Royal Security Intelligence Unit, a highly confidential branch that normally handles external threats, not domestic betrayal. This time, the enemy was within. Investigators quickly uncovered that Camilla had accessed the royal heirloom vault on April 22nd, claiming it was for heritage research. But the logs told a different story. She used an override code that hadn't been active since 2014. Surveillance cameras at Clarence House recorded Camilla's vehicle parked at the private loading bay for over 45 minutes. A locked trunk was carefully moved into the car, bypassing the usual artifact checkout system. No one questioned it until now. Destination logs confirmed the trunk was driven to the same Windsor estate where Edward Langley stayed during the so-called wellness retreat. The trunk was never logged back in. Its contents were never seen again. Behind closed doors, Charles gave one chilling order: follow the trunk, follow the man. And with that, what started as a cheating scandal spiraled into something much, much worse. What investigators found next was not just infidelity, it was theft, royal theft. The affair was only the beginning. As the investigation deepened, July 2025 delivered a discovery no one was prepared for. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was royal. From Camilla's encrypted tablet, investigators retrieved a series of private messages exchanged with Edward Langley. Messages filled with raw, emotional confessions. One read, "You always knew me better than he did." Another, "This time, it's ours." What stood out wasn't just the affair, it was what Camilla was willing to risk for it. At the same time, forensic analysts confirmed something even darker. After Camilla's April 22nd vault access, two priceless items had vanished: Princess Diana's caterpillar earrings and the Spencer choker. Together valued at over £650,000. These weren't just jewels, they were legacy, and they were meant to be passed down to Princess Charlotte on her 18th birthday in 2043. Camilla had used the 2014 override code to bypass standard checkout procedures. That code was supposed to be decommissioned. Now it had become the key to a royal betrayal. Charles was briefed in full. A palace official said he sat silently for 20 minutes, then said just 4 words. "She touched Diana's legacy." That was the line. Not just infidelity, but infiltration. Straight into the crown's history. The next step wasn't a briefing, it was a confrontation. Confrontation in the Blue Room. Charles demands the truth. On the evening of July 1st, King Charles summoned Camilla for a private meeting inside the Blue Room at Buckingham Palace. No aides, no protocol, just the two of them, and the folder of damning evidence. He didn't shout. He didn't accuse. He laid out the timeline. Surveillance stills, vault logs, message transcripts, everything matched. And then he asked the question that froze the room. Who is he? Camilla blinked. She stumbled through shallow excuses. "Old friend, I needed time away. You were busy with Parliament." But Charles wasn't listening to words. He was watching her eyes. Then came the second folder, artifact logs from April 18th to April 22nd. Charles pointed to the line that showed the override access. "The trunk," he said, "hasn't come back." At that moment, something shifted. Camilla broke down. But she couldn't explain how Diana's 1986 pearl earrings had ended up on her daughter Laura Lopes's ears during a private luncheon, or why she never reported the trunk's return. Charles leaned forward and whispered, "You didn't just cheat on me. You stole from my past, from her." That night, Charles did not sleep. According to his valet, he sat alone by the fireplace, staring into the flames, repeating just one sentence. "Diana warned me." And by dawn on July 2nd, he had made his decision. The betrayal wouldn't be buried. It would be dealt with. Catherine's silent power move. On June 29, 2025, what began as a simple luncheon at Buckingham Palace to honor Princess Charlotte's latest charity milestone quickly turned into a turning point for the monarchy. As Catherine entered the room, dressed in a soft blue outfit once worn by Princess Diana in 1995, her eyes were immediately drawn to something chilling. Camilla's daughter, Laura Lopes, was wearing a pair of earrings Catherine knew didn't belong to her. They were unmistakable, the 3-tiered pearl drop earrings gifted to Diana by Qatar in 1986. Without saying a word, Catherine had her assistant discreetly retrieve the heirloom catalog. The details were exact. The serial number, the clasp design, the diamond tips, a perfect match. These earrings had been logged as part of Diana's preserved collection, marked for Princess Charlotte's 18th birthday in 2043. And now, somehow, they were dangling from the ears of someone with no royal title, passed down like a keepsake instead of a legacy. At exactly 12:42 p.m., Catherine turned to Laura and asked in a composed but cutting tone, "Where did you get those earrings?" Laura stuttered. She said they were a gift from Mum, adding that she was told they were hers to keep. Catherine didn't flinch. The palace gemologist, already on standby due to earlier security alerts, was brought forward to examine the earrings. Within minutes, they were confirmed. Original, not replicas, and never officially transferred. That evening, when Prince William arrived at the palace, Catherine greeted him with one quiet word: confirmed. It was all he needed to hear. What had been whispers behind closed doors was now backed by hard evidence, and the monarchy could no longer protect Camilla from the consequences. The walls of royal tradition had begun to shake, and Catherine hadn't raised her voice once. The Royal Council strips Camilla of power. On July 3, 2025, a private emergency council was convened inside the heart of Buckingham Palace. There were no press leaks, no public calendar events, just 5 people in one room: King Charles, Prince William, Catherine, Princess Anne, and the Royal Constitutional Advisor. What happened behind those closed doors would forever change Camilla's place in the monarchy. Charles began the meeting by laying everything on the table: the surveillance images, the vault access logs, the missing trunk, the recovered messages, the confirmation that Diana's heirlooms had been gifted away without approval. His voice, though steady, carried weight when he said, "This is no longer a family matter. It's a violation of crown integrity." Princess Anne didn't hold back. She was furious, stating bluntly, "She's used our grief, our history, and our mother's name as a bargaining chip." William was quiet until the moment he was asked to speak, and when he did, his words cut like a blade. "My mother was erased once. We won't let it happen again." Catherine remained silent throughout the discussion, but in her lap, everything Camilla had touched was now being tracked, flagged, and frozen from further access. By the end of the meeting, Charles issued a swift and brutal set of orders. Camilla's palace entry was suspended immediately. Her security detail was cut in half. Vault access codes were replaced by midnight. Her communications staff would be reassigned within 72 hours. And while she would retain the Queen Consort title for appearances, she was stripped of all duties, influence, and relevance. Later that evening, a sealed directive was hand-delivered to Clarence's house. At the bottom of the letter, in Charles's own handwriting, were 3 final words: "Trust is broken." Camilla wasn't escorted out. She was locked out, and the press hadn't even caught wind of it yet. The leak that set the world on fire. By 6 a.m. on July 6, 2025, the world woke up to a headline that no one expected, but everyone instantly believed: Queen Camilla in secret affair and heirloom theft scandal. The Times had broken the story, and it spread like wildfire. The article included surveillance photos of Camilla and Edward Langley during the May Windsor retreat, alongside leaked palace logs proving her unauthorized vault access. Within hours, social media platforms exploded with fury. Hashtags like #CheatingQueen, #DianaDeservedBetter, and "Not My Queen" trended across 93 countries. The most viral clip? A side-by-side comparison of Laura Lopes wearing Diana's 1986 earrings and archival footage of Princess Diana in the same piece. The resemblance wasn't just visual, it was symbolic. Millions saw it as theft, not just of jewelry, but of memory. Polls taken by YouGov the same day showed Camilla's public approval had plummeted to 21%, the lowest since her royal entry in 2005. Meanwhile, Catherine's soared to 85%. The people didn't wait for the palace to speak. They had already made their judgment. And as anger surged beyond social media and into the streets, King Charles was already preparing the one decision Camilla couldn't undo. Charles delivers the final blow: exile. On July 7, 2025, the atmosphere inside Buckingham Palace was unlike anything the royal staff had ever felt. There was no shouting, no press, no grand gesture, only silence, heavy and final. That morning, King Charles signed what insiders later called the most painful directive of his reign. The document that removed Queen Camilla from all official royal function. The order was cold and precise. Banned her from all ceremonial duties, revoked her vault access, and disabled all internal communications tied to her name. Her biometric clearance, once used to enter the most private royal archives, was permanently revoked. Staff members were informed of reassignment and separation protocols, effective by midnight. The only thing she was allowed to keep was the Queen Consort title, and even that was stripped of meaning, a name with no power behind it. By early evening, Camilla was discreetly relocated to Ray Mill House, her private estate in Wiltshire, far removed from royal grounds, public events, and palace corridors. There were no photos, no reporters, no royal convoy, just a quiet, unmarked vehicle and a final, devastating message. At the bottom of the directive, in Charles's own handwriting, were 3 words: "Trust is broken." There was no public announcement, no carefully worded palace statement, but within royal circles the meaning was clear. Camilla's reign was over. This wasn't just exile, it was a clean break from the monarchy she once infiltrated. Not by divorce or scandal headlines, but by royal decree. And while Charles retreated into the silence of personal grief, the next move came not from the throne, but from Catherine, who would now do what Camilla never could: protect what remained of Diana's legacy. Catherine reclaims Diana's vault. On July 8, 2025, just one day after Camilla's exile from royal duties, Princess Catherine made a quiet but powerful move, not for headlines, but for history. Without any formal announcement, cameras, or press fanfare, she walked into the royal vault beneath Windsor Castle, joined only by Lady Eleanor Moore, the Crown's chief archivist. It was a moment of silence, duty, and resolve. Inside that vault lay what the monarchy had almost lost: Princess Diana's legacy, sealed away but never forgotten. The Spencer choker, the 1985 sapphire brooch, and a handwritten letter Diana had penned to Prince William just weeks before her tragic death in 1997. These weren't just relics. They were the soul of a woman whose life had been cut short and whose memory had been at risk of being rewritten. Catherine carefully inspected, logged, and resecured each piece. She locked the vault permanently, accessible only to her and Charlotte's future royal steward. She placed a white envelope inside. It read, "For Charlotte, in strength and memory, love, Mommy." That gesture wasn't just maternal, it was symbolic. It marked the return of power to the bloodline that had nearly been robbed of it. Later that afternoon, the palace released 2 unannounced portraits, one of Catherine, standing solemn and composed in front of the sealed vault, and one of Princess Charlotte, holding a framed photo of her grandmother. The imagery spoke louder than words. Within 48 hours, the photos had been viewed and shared over 32 million times across the world. Support flooded in, not just from royalists, but from ordinary people who saw in Catherine something real, a protector of memory, not just a member of the firm. The heirlooms were no longer in danger. The crown's heart, Diana's legacy, was once again in the hands of the right woman. And with that vault sealed, the monarchy took its first real step toward healing. Camilla's past destroys her future. By July 10, 2025, the scandal surrounding Queen Camilla was no longer confined to palace walls. It had become a full-blown national reckoning. As the affair and jewel theft saga dominated headlines, journalists and royal historians began digging deeper. What they uncovered wasn't just damaging, it was devastating. The resurfacing of the notorious 1993 Tampon Gate tapes brought old wounds back into public view, this time under the new lens of betrayal. Once considered a private embarrassment, the tapes were now seen as the origin point of a long-running manipulation that spanned decades. More troubling, however, were the findings related to Camilla's royal vault visits in 2017 and 2021. Records showed that she signed out multiple heirloom items, including 2 Victorian brooches, Georgian sapphire cufflinks, and a rarely worn Edwardian pendant, none of which were ever properly returned. Whistleblowers from Clarence House came forward anonymously, revealing that the pieces were quietly sold under aliases. Their destination? An exclusive private auction in Geneva in 2022, where at least £1.1 million worth of royal jewelry changed hands, all linked back to items Camilla had accessed. The implication was clear. This wasn't a single scandal. This was a pattern. As public pressure mounted, even those once loyal to her began backing away. Her PR team of 20 years terminated their contract. Her planned memoir, originally set for release in autumn 2025, was pulled from shelves before it even hit print. Multiple senior staff members from Clarence House quietly resigned, some submitting handwritten letters citing ethical discomfort. Even her family wasn't spared. Laura Lopes was stripped of her art trustee role at the National Gallery, following confirmation that she had worn stolen earrings. Tom Parker Bowles, her son, stepped down from his Daily Mail food column after public backlash grew impossible to ignore. But the most brutal blow came on July 12th. In a quiet move with massive symbolic weight, Camilla's full profile was deleted from the official royal family website. No headline, no statement, no explanation. Just gone, erased, as if she had never been part of the royal framework at all. What began as a secret affair had now unraveled an entire history of deceit. She wasn't just locked out of the palace, she was locked out of royal memory. And while Camilla disappeared into silence, one woman stepped forward without uttering a word. Catherine, steady and unshaken, became the moral center the monarchy had been missing. In Camilla's fall, the people had found their queen not in name, but in dignity, grace, and truth. Camilla's fall wasn't just scandal. It was betrayal in its purest form. She didn't just cheat on King Charles, she cheated the crown, the legacy, and the trust of a nation. But what she didn't expect was Prince William standing up, not just for his father, but for his mother's memory. And with Catherine by his side, they've reclaimed everything Camilla tried to steal. Now, as she fades into exile and silence, the monarchy moves forward with strength. Because when betrayal knocks on the gates of the palace, truth always finds its way in.